Hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. Happy Friday. I'm glad you were able to join me today. I am using the same colors as I did in this painting here, but I'm adding green and I want to make another floral arrangement of some sort, and I really liked how the last one turned out, and so I'm kind of approaching it the same way, but I'm just adding some different flowers. And you saw me spraying some water on the paper, and then I thought the better of it, and so now I am mopping it up because the color was moving too much on the paper and I didn't want that. So I mopped it up a little bit with a piece of paper, and now I'm ready to add some more paint. Because this is all a little bit happy-go-lucky, just put blobs wherever I feel like they would look good as flowers, I am not exactly sure if it's gonna work out, and so you will see me mop up color, change color, move things around a little bit here and there. And I left that part in because I think it's important to see for you that that is actually possible as long as the paint is wet still. All of the colors are the same with the exception of the two greens, and I have them listed down below in the description box for you in case you are curious. I put those magenta dots on the green, and then I remembered I had put it on white first, and so I mopped it up again and I tried one more time. And I'm doing the same on the bottom because I also want to add a second larger flower on that bottom half. And even though there's still a little bit of that green residue, it works well. I'm also changing the color of that larger flower because it was too pink for me. I didn't like it. And the purple ones on top started to bleed into each other a little bit too much, and so I'm mopping that up too. And now I like it a lot better. Now that everything is dry, I can move on to the second layer. And I really liked those flowers in my last painting, and so I'm bringing them back. Because I've already done this recently, I know what I want them to look like now, and I think I have perfected that flower even more now that I have done them a couple of times, and I really like how they turned out this time around. And even though they are the exact same style as last time, I feel like they look completely different. If you watched last week's video, I was talking about needing to anchor my flowers to something, and so I created these layers. And I didn't need to do that this time around because I had the bigger flowers on the bottom, which does that trick for me. And so these flowers are coming out from behind that bottom flower, and they don't look like they're just floating in thin air. The second layer is all about definition. So now I am making sure that those blobs that I put down on the first layer actually start resembling something. They're abstract flowers, they don't really exist in real life, and I'm okay with that. I really didn't like how I outlined these petals, and so later on you see me fixing that a little bit. I still don't love it, but it turned out much better in the end. I also think she turned out a little bit too big for my liking, but hey, it is what it is. I'm just gonna, leave it the way it is and get over it. This one, however, I liked how it turned out, so at least there is that. When I applied the green background, there was this darker green area, which I thought was in the perfect position for a sprig of green leaves. I mostly cover it up later on, that darker green in the background, but that's okay. It just helps me figure out what other elements I can put on top. What I do with it later on is up to my imagination. These ones were floating in the air a little bit too much for me, so I gave them some branches and some leaves, just filling in the empty spots. And now I'm basically just filling everything in with a little bit more greenery, just like I would if I were to make an actual bouquet. I had added some white elements in the other green painting that I did a while ago, and I really liked it there. But because I didn't outline anything in white and there wasn't a lot of dominant white elements in this one, I later on decided to shade them with a little bit more green. And if you're gonna pay attention to the close-up right at the end of this video, you will see what I mean. I could have used my gold watercolor that I have, but I had this acrylic paint available and ready to go, and so that's what I chose to use. If I water it down quite a bit, it almost reacts just like watercolor, and so it worked out perfectly. And then I just gave those bottom flowers a little bit of that gold shimmer as well, just to tie everything together. And then also the purple ones got a little bit more shimmer as well. And I think that just ties everything together in the end. And now I am adding just a little bit more texture, and for that I'm coming in with my colored pencils. And I just love those different elements. They give it interest and draws your eye to different parts of the painting. Of course, I could have done that with watercolor as well, or I could have used something else, but I really like the texture the pencils make on the watercolor paper because it is already rough. And here you see what I meant when I said earlier I wanted to cover it up a little bit because I just didn't like how that looked. And I'm still on the fence on whether I like it better, but it just seems a little bit more like a flower now. Also, the marks with the pencils kind of give the petals a little bit more life. I'm adding white lines to these leaves because you can still see the other parts shining through that were on the bottom. And I could have added maybe some acrylic markers over it, but at this point I was still trying to tie in the white element to the left, and I thought maybe if I added white to the leaves it would tie those in a little bit better. And even though I ended up covering the white dots to the left in the end, I still feel like it works because there's still enough white to tie in those lines. And now I'm using a little bit more acrylic paint again to add the center of the flowers by using a dotting tool and just sprinkling in some of those dots. It gives the painting even more texture again, and I just love how it finishes those flowers for me. Like I said, I've done different variations of this kind of flower, and every time it looks a little bit different because they looked like they had kind of a glow with the addition of the acrylic paint in on the inside of the flower. It felt kind of fairy-like, and so I wanted to add just some dots coming out of those flowers. I decided to add some bubbles to the background and the foreground of everything. And I think at this point I still was trying to tie in the white element on the left. And I thought if I just added some very faint bubbles to everything, it would do that for me. And even though I ended up covering the white a little bit more with green in the end, I still kind of like it, and it just gives it a little bit more of a fairy feeling. At least that's what it feels to me. Also, this is a very good trick to create faint bubbles if you do it this way. Should I zoom out and show you the aftermath on my desk? There's more, but this is what's going on behind the scenes. Everything is out and all is used. I just figured, you know, you never see the back side of what is really going on my desk, so there is that. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I just feel like florals lately, and I really wanted to make a companion to this guy, and I think we did really well. Maybe I'll make some cards out of this one, and this one, and this one. I'm enjoying it, so I hope you did too. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and I will leave you with some close-up shots of this particular one, and I will see you next Friday with a new video. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay creative wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you next week.